Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As you know, we are coming here directly live from, where again? Netroots Nation in Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland. I don't know if it's really called Maryland or no, but it's Baltimore, Maryland. Anyway, we had a great first day at Netroots Nation today. It was wonderful. What did we do? We got to meet a whole lot of activists, consultants, a few politicians. In fact, we had a politician here that I just interviewed. He's no longer a politician, but he introduced himself as he was pushing a particular message that I served 7 years in the Vermont State Senate and served 8 years in the State House. And I looked around and I said, wait, doesn't that mean that you are a state senator and a state rep? Oh, yeah. But, Tiles, man, we have some of the coolest people out here. What I'm talking about, people who served, who are serving, who are doing the things that are necessary to get this country to function. But anyhow, before we get started, let's say hello to all our people. Who do we have in the house? We have, of course, Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. We also have in the house Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. We have in the house Lee Grant from Montgomery County, of course, Texas, and Bridge MC from Binghamton, New York. Folks, we are having a blast as far as meeting folks, as far as a positive feeling about the next election. In fact, I had two of the largest progressive rags in this country, meaning Raw Story. Everybody know what Raw Story is. You get that in your mailbox just about every day. And we also had Daily Coast, Marcus Molitsas out here with us talking about all these issues. And you know what was the universal message around what they were talking about? The universal message was, you know what? Let's take a look at the polls in India. What were the polls in India saying when Modi didn't get the majority that he wanted? What were the polls in France? Well, the polls in France, what did it say again? It said that the right wing was going to take over the country. The left was going to go crazy and end. That's what was going to happen. It didn't happen. Go around that side, Annabel. It didn't happen. The left did not cave. The left actually came through, and it turned out excellent. What happened in Great Britain? Yeah, we expected a landslide for the party, the Labour Party, but guess what? It was even better. That is what happened. But before I get started, guess who I just came across? Look who I just came across here. Annabel. Let's have a little chat here, Annabel. How you doing, my dear friend?
Hi.
Annabel. Hey, folks, let me tell you who this woman is, okay? Annabel Park was the founder of Coffee Party USA. Welcome, Annabel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. This is really energizing. I mean, I'm so glad I'm here instead of like doom scrolling and freaking out.
Yeah, well, I want to tell a story about you. Okay, and here's a story that, and I, she somehow didn't recall that I said this years ago. Years ago, I don't know. I thought you had perfect memory, my
No,
friend.
not.
Okay, but anyhow, back in the yay days, before during Obamacare debate in 2008, all from the time I came to the country, I was one of those radical lefties, always a radical lefty. Okay, that's who I am. But during the Obamacare debate and during all the wars that was going on in the country, people against people, I remember I think I was on YouTube, and there's this snowy video with Annabel Park out there talking about us getting along and talking about civility and all of that kind of stuff. And there was just something in the way she said it that actually touched me, and I immediately went ahead and joined the organization called Coffee Party that you were the founder of. And you know, I've related this story. I think it's even in one of my books here that where I spoke about making that change of civility and really trying to engage all people on terms that make them want to trust you, make them want to talk to you. And I have to say, Annabelle, I've been very successful in using that technique and garner a whole lot of people. So, first of all, in front of everybody, I'll say, well, thank you for congratulating me, my dear. You know, but what I'm saying, I take a different tack than you take. You're a lot more soft spoken than I am. I'm aggressive, but in as much as I'm aggressive, people know that it comes from a position of love, a position of caring, a position from not insulting the person as an individual, but actually working. So tell us a little bit about yourself to the audience. Introduce yourself to the audience here.
Well, I am. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm Korean American. I was born in Korea. And one of the reasons why I am really dedicated to activism and participation is because I grew up first 10 years of my life in Korea when Korea was not a democracy, it was a military dictatorship. And so I know what it's like firsthand to not have a democracy and to know that people would die for democracy. And so now here we are. I feel like we are in a democracy that is slowly not becoming a democracy anymore. Right. And especially this year, I feel like it really is in peril, you know, with this election coming up, where we could stand to lose everything that people have worked towards from the founding. And so, you know, my story is that I basically have devoted my entire life to figuring out how I can contribute to like America becoming an even greater, you know, democracy than it is. And I've done different things as a result. I've done filmmaking. I accidentally started a movement called the Coffee Party. I've done campaign work. I've done community organizing. I've done academic stuff. I've done all kinds of things because I was trying to figure out how to improve our democracy. Yeah.
Let me just break in here. I think it's important for people to know. Both you and I were born somewhere else.
Yeah.
You were born in South Korea. I was born in Panama. Mm-hmm. I think many a times, and this is not an attempt to offend anybody, but a lot of those of us who've moved here, we have a better appreciation of what could potentially be lost. And in so doing, I will tell my American brothers and my born American brothers and sisters, you want to listen to what a lot of those of us who have lived through other types of governments are talking about. Your comments.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because it's not just that we saw what it means to not have democracy, but we also I went through a naturalization ceremony. Mm-hmm. Where I really had to swear, just like in the military, people swear to uphold the Constitution. Right. And that actually really transformed me. Yeah. Because up until that point, like I didn't really understand what it really meant to suddenly become an American. But after that, I'm like, you know what? This really is extremely important to my identity.
Right.
To be somebody dedicated to and loyal to this country. And so yeah, I'm in a way I'm kind of a warrior because I really want to fight for this country and not I do not take it for granted at all. And I do think you're right. Like people can take it for granted because that's all they have known until we lose it. Yeah.
You know, Annabelle, there's one other thing that we share in common. We had to really learn about this country to be naturalized American citizens because we had to prove that we knew how it worked, that we knew its beginning, that knew that. And unfortunately, in the way the school systems are today, there's so much that is left behind. And I think many lose. They lose because they didn't go through that process. I mean, I think it's important. So what you are here with two programs. I mean, like you said, you are always doing something. Tell us a little bit about your projects.
Yeah, like this year I have two projects here. One is called Vital Voters, and I've been working on creating a database of immigrant communities and voters in swing states, and I'm hoping to get campaigns and organizations to do in-language outreach to communities in their district, and to also to have really subtle messages that really fit that community, and that all that requires old-fashioned community organizing, getting to know the community, getting to know the leaders in the community, training volunteers, and working together with them to figure out like what is in their interest instead of assuming that we know. And to give you an example, I mean, and yeah, a lot of people are doing Latino, Asian outreach. Often that outreach is not effective because they don't distinguish between Cubans and people from El Salvador or China from Vietnam. They're very different communities. And so in order to do it effectively, we have to get to know the communities. We have to work with the people. The Koreans in Northern Virginia are different from Koreans in New Jersey, in that, there are different issues. And so I just want everyone to know the potential because we have a million new naturalized citizens every year. Many of them are in swing states.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Texas in particular, right? And so if we even just focus on Texas, imagine if we flip Texas by targeting immigrant voters. That's my dream. That's 40 electoral college votes.
Right.
Okay? It also means we don't have to work as hard to get all these other states. 40 electoral college votes. If we just focus on immigrants in Texas. And we can do it. We can absolutely do it. I also grew up in Texas. And so that's the kind of thing that, to me is incredible strategy. Like, we've got to do this. We've got to expand the base. We can't just go after registered Democrats who vote every election. We have to expand the base, grow the party.
That is what I'm talking about. You're talking about expanding the base with bringing in the immigrants. I sometimes I think I'm even more, I don't want to say dreaming, because if you take a look at our chat here, about half the, let me get it, about a good 20-30% currently in this chat are conservative. Some of them are actually MAGA, but they're here every day.
Wow. Amazing.
And they're not trolls. They're just debating.
Right. So what are they looking for?
I am looking to...
No, them. Them. What are they looking for?
I think they've developed the trust in what we do. And actually, when I say we, I'm not just talking me. I'm talking about what we do. Because again, talking about being able to talk to these guys, when I put some of that credit on you, I'm saying that from the depths of the heart, and that there are some of the folks that I find in here I would otherwise have. They can't hear me. There are some of the folks in here that I would otherwise have found pretty obnoxious, right? That I understand where the concept is coming from now, and it's so important. And again, like I said, we learned this from the different programs that we developed, being a part of that coffee party movement, that we did, and again, it served its purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you really believe in democracy, you have to respect intelligence of everyone, and you have to believe in deliberation and dialogue. Because if you don't have dialogue, if we can't have dialogue, it's like trying to be in a marriage when you don't talk to the partner. We're supposed to be governing together.
Yes.
We have to talk to each other. And so I am a big believer in discussion and debate. Doesn't mean we're going to agree. That's not the point. The point is being able to have that dialogue and respect each other. And that's not happening. And it kills me. I feel destroyed by it, really. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is we are all, now that's what I forgot. Guys, I forgot every time. Forgive me about the audio. We have the batteries are charging on the other ones, but we have to engage. And the good thing that I like is that no matter what happened, you remain engaged, I remain engaged, and ultimately the results is what's matter. We both, our hearts are in the same place. It's very important. Anyway, give me a closer, Annabelle.
Yeah, I would just like to say that we all need to really make sacrifices this year to save our country and our democracy, because so much is on the line. It really is an all hands on deck. So all the things that you want to do for yourself, for your family, none of these things are going to happen if we lose our country. So it really is an all hands on deck situation. So take time off, participate, do everything that we can. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Annabel Park, founder of Coffee Party. Look, thank you so kindly for having spend some time and talk to me and talk a little bit about your projects. That's really good. I am going to come and get me an apple or something later on. I saw you. I
see you at a party.
Yeah. Well, I got so much darn video processing. Are you going to the one that I think there's one, I don't remember who's having it at the hotel down the road here?
I'm going to the one at the Kimpton Hotel.
I think that's it. Who's having that one?
Democracy Partners. Okay.
Well, I may have to go, but I don't know. I have a lot of work to do, so I'll see. I'm tired. Anyway, thank you very much for being out here.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyway, folks, that was Annabel Park. She was the founder of Coffee Party USA. Anyway, let's see. I will get engaged with my peeps. Let's see what our peeps are saying. Michael, look, it's not easy for me to read all the words, but I'm going to try to read some of them. Michael, before that, let me salute everybody that's in the chat. We have Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. We've got Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. We've got Stajan Bergenkring from I think you're from, I forgot where you're from. I want to say Missouri. Bruce Pollard says, Netroots time, pizza for dinner. You remember that, Bruce? We went when Bruce came to Netroots last year, we went and had ourselves some good pizza. It is dark. I don't have light shining on me, but what can I say? I'm also like a black guy, Bridge MCP, and what can I say? But anyhow, I'm making fun here. We also have in the house, para ver, Tom C. Audio is low, set is dark. I know it's a location. The camera doesn't do a lot of enhancement. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'll fix it up a little bit later and make it a little bit less dark. We also have in the house, para ver, AVQ from Brooklyn, New York, and Yvette from Atlanta, Georgia. I think I got everybody. Anyhow, I think I've got everybody. Okay, Michael says, I knew this delay was likely, but justice delayed is justice denied. Again, the crimes committed were in the time frame while Trump was candidate. The crimes committed allowed Trump to bamboozle the American people and becoming president in the first place. The evidence cited to be excluded was aggravating. Evidence demonstrated attempts to intimidate witnesses alongside lack of remorse, which would normally be used to increase sentencing. To be clear, that evidence was all after the fact and has no bearing on Trump's guilty verdict, other than the judges tend have a negative view of unrepentant criminals. For anyone wondering why the Supreme Court's decision was such a horror, you need look no further than the concept that Donald Trump will now claim immunity for everything he has ever done, even that which before time. Think about that, folks. Think about that. That's what we're talking about. Also, Reuters, U.S. President Joe Biden faced fresh doubts on Wednesday after his re-election chances from heavyweights Nancy Pelosi and George Clooney, who may influence other Democratic lawmakers. I'm not going to read that whole thing, guys, because it's hard for me to read and with all the commotion. But anyhow, let's see what else we got here. If the decision goes Biden versus Trump to November, we are effed. That's according to Stephen Colbert. Egberto, I know you're away and can't put this on the screen, but have a laugh while you do it. I'll do that, my friend. I'll have a laugh on this when I get a chance. Okay, who else? What else we've got here? Steigen, let's see. Burger King. I don't understand what is going on with everything around Biden. We are killing our chances to save democracy. We need to make decision and run with it, but every day that goes by, we are damaging the chances we will run. You know what? Let me tell you the only thing that makes me happy. I feel your pain, Steigen. Forgive me if I say your name wrong, but I feel your pain, okay? Here's what I have to say about that, and it's important. The American attention span has gotten down to a nickel. What does that really mean? It means all of this is going to be forgotten. If all of this gets done by August, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be forgotten, and the real race is going to begin in September, right after Labor Day. I too want it done. But I hear you. I really do hear you. All right, Steins says this is Michael Rudnin talking to Steigen, saying, Steigen reminds me of a conversation I had on YouTube recently. Trump is an existential threat to democracy. After the debate, Biden is likely to lose to Trump. You can't have it both ways. Existential threats have won in other countries if voters are careless or apathetic. Those countries had to suffer afterwards through and many other issues. So here's the deal. I was speaking to Marcus Molitsas, the publisher of Daily Kos. And here's the important thing that he reminded us of. One, Modi in India should not have had to form a government by putting coalitions together, but he lost the coalition that he had. I mean, not the coalition. He lost being able to appoint the government all on his own. The same in Poland. Poland went from a state going towards fascism into becoming a democracy again. The same with France. What happened in France? The right wing took the first round. Everybody got into a panic. They were panicked. And guess what happened thereafter? The right had to hold their pants. Why again? Because the left came, the far left and the left middle came struggling. I mean, again, the polls didn't say that was going to happen, but it did. And then we can then jump back to England, or we should say the UK, where the Labour Party, the progressives, they came out singing. So again, polls are one thing. Now, I'm not telling you not to watch the polls, because America isn't England, America isn't France, America isn't Poland, America isn't India. But here's the one thing that I do know. I do know that we overperformed in every single ballot that we've done thus far. And we not overperformed by a little in most of them, but by a bunch. It passed this prologue. Prologues look pretty damn good. Anyway, folks, continuing with the questions, we also have part of it. It seems like it. This is from Burger King. It seems like it. My emotions run from fear to sadness to anger. I fear a Democrat loss. I am sad we are creating our loss. I am angry at Democratic leadership, so angry with leadership. Yes, you should be, and you should make your voices heard. But here's the deal. The path has not changed. The path that the Republicans laid down has not changed. Women's rights, voter rights, attack on health care. All these issues are still there. It is whether we are able to expand on those issues, is whether we are able to put out this issue. And you know why we do programs like this? Guess why? Because what we're doing is expanding those who are listening to these particular subjects. And it's essential. You are essential. Those of you who are scared right now, my dear friend, Stygen, let me tell you something. Do not fear. Do not fear at all. You go out there. For every time you feel fear, go speak to 5 people. Every time you feel a concern, go speak to 5 people. Call them up. Hey, don't forget. And don't only call them up for them. Call them up to remind them that your mother, your brother, your sister, your granny, and everybody who has a voter registration card has to go out there and vote. And not, you don't only tell them they have to go out there and vote, but they have to vote to save themselves. Don't only put it on voting to save others, but put it on voting to save themselves. And you know what? It works. I can tell you from experience how many people. I told a story about being at the gym and a person backslapping me and saying, Egberto, guess what? You're going to like me. And I'm like, why the hell am I going to like you now? And it's like, well, you know what? I voted exactly the way you wanted me to vote, but I'm no damn Democrat. I'm just doing it this time. We need a hell of a lot of that happening. And you know what? A hell of a lot of that will happen when people understand exactly what's happening with Project 2025. When people understand exactly what's happening in the real things that are happening in healthcare. When they start to understand those particular items, things are going to change. I have absolutely no doubt about it. So, folks, rest assured that what we're talking about is definitely what can be, what should be, what we should make happen. All right, we got also King Trump gets into office again. We already know what's coming. I love that you put in the chat, brother. Bridge says, yep, she was walking by as he was talking to us after saying, oh, yeah, it's all live, guys. It's all live. It's all live. It's all live. Okay, one mic can't hear. I tell you what I got to do, though. What I got to do is I've got to, I had to charge up some batteries because I have some other interviews that I got to do. And guess what I did? I don't know if I left the other rechargeable batteries at my studio or they took it out of my luggage because I started to think it's nickel metal hydride. I don't know whether that is they take that out of luggages or not. Anyway, looks like this is live after all. Of course, Michael, it is live after all. We also have Lee Grant saying he's a person of color. Why did you have to say he's a person of color to show, to tell Mademoiselle Bridge MCP that I'm a black dude? Come on, man. I get it. I get it. You know, I still love you, Lee. You know that, right? All right, let's see what else we got. Michael says, if we progressives expect the average voter to sacrifice for what we hope will happen, that's the path. We don't want to hope. I don't believe in hope. I don't like hope at all. I like reality. All right, continuer. Where, let's see, blue crabs across the street. In Panama, during the rainy season, we'd have the blue crabs come across the street all of the time, and the cars would make mincemeat out of them. Oh, it was the saddest thing. And a few days later, the smell in the whole area was completely unbearable. Gene Deigel, how are you doing, Gene? Welcome aboard Politics Done Right. Gene says, hello from Alvin, Texas. Well, you're talking to Baltimore, Maryland at this point in time. Eric Hayes says, but the bamboozle is the current media and family and left-wing thinking. Mr. B is just now having issues. Actually, Eric, you do have a legitimate complaint there. And, you know, I've got to agree with you there. Now that they put the guy out there, he looks a lot more feebled than a few ago. All right? All right, let's see what else we got. No worries, Egberto. Save the longer readouts for when you're back home. I will. Thank you for that, Michael Rudnin. And also, the American attention span for news, 2 weeks, according to Michael Rudnin. So again, I don't think we need to sit back and have a lot of fear. We don't. All right, the Democrats that have placed Biden in a circular firing squad along with the media is doing more damage to Biden than the poor debate itself. Democrats always find a way to snatch defeat from the mouth of victory, just like they did in 2016. Let's be careful there, my brother. Let's be careful. That's not what really happened. In 2016, we actually had the numbers. In 2016, it's more than the numbers that we had, okay? It's more so than not. So let's get real. Let's get real. The reality is, we told Michael Moore and many others, we told Hillary, you need to go into Michigan. You need to go into Wisconsin. You need to go into Detroit. You need to go into Milwaukee. You need to go. We named the cities that were going to underperform. And guess what the number of that underperforming was? The number of that underperforming was consistent with the 60 or 70,000 votes under which Hillary Clinton lost. It wasn't the media taking defeat. It wasn't the people who were criticizing. It's the inability to have seen that, my dear friend, that was happening. Gene, we spelled it out. We spelled it out in 2016. She still won the popular vote, as everybody knows, by 3 million votes. Let's give you another kicker. Even though Biden won by 7 million votes, realize this, because it's very important. He lost by 7 million votes, but had 40,000 votes turned around. Trump would have been president, even having lost by 7 million votes. Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, winning by 3 million votes. That tells you that we don't have a democracy. That tells you that there is a defect in the Constitution that nobody wants to admit. And I understand the reason for state rights and all the different, I know it. I know American history. I know American history. Unfortunately, it is not a democracy. All right, let's see what else I have here. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome, Melanie. How are you doing today? Great to see you here. Happy Thursday to everyone. And today is happy first day of Netroots Nation. So we're having fun, folks. We're having fun. Let's see. Bridge to Stygen says, do what I do, turn off and watch old movies, revamp yourself. We are all feeling it, but we will vote blue no matter what. Yes, we are going to vote blue. But it's not only that we're going to vote blue, we'll get more people to vote blue as well. Eric Duoman, you said you are I think I remember you. You're the appraiser. We talked the other day. I live in Baltimore. How long are you in town for? I will be in town on this early Sunday morning. I'll be here all day tomorrow. I'll be here all day today. I'll be here all day on Saturday. Wow, I still have a lot of time left here in Baltimore. Yeah, I'll be here all Saturday, yeah. So, if you want to stop by and have some coffee here at Netroots, be my guest. I'll even bring you onto the show. We can actually talk to folks. Hey, Ray, the telephone, I don't have it set up correctly. So I'm not going to be able to take the call. I don't have all the systems set up on this for the call. So type it in the chat. I'm sorry, but I couldn't get it all set up here in the convention center. So we'll do that another time. Let's see what else we got here. By the way, guys, if you all need internet access, it's right under my table. Okay, you just have to plug your RJ45 into it. All right. Great. Anyway, folks, coming back to you. Michael says, Egberto, check Eric's comments might be time sensitive. Let me see Eric's comment. It says, Egberto, we can meet. Yeah, I tell you what, I just checked it. Eric, you can come on out here. We are at the convention center, the Baltimore, it's Hilton, Baltimore Inner Harbor Convention Center. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Let's see what we got here. Popular vote. Yes, we got, you know what? I have an interview with the guys who are working on it. Here it is. The popular vote and how it actually works. We're going to talk about that. I think I've done 10 interviews so far today. I'm behind. I want to sit back before I continue with the messages. There is a difference in the people set that's here this year. And it's not only the people set, but it's also politicians. Everybody is watching their words. Anybody that you see me interview here, I actually kind of canoodle to interview. Normally, I do 50, 40, 50, 60 interviews in no time. People are not scared to talk. I am finding in this Netroots more so than in ever before that people are not talking as freely as they used to. I attribute that to the cancel culture. I attribute that to the vengeance culture. I attribute that to just the current climate that we are in. And the only way to alleviate that climate is for folks to just go to hell and engage. And that's how I've gotten some to just come and say, let's talk. It's not about you anymore. Those of you who are doing positive things for society right now, it's not about you. It's about what we have to get done. And that's what we need to do. That is what we've got to do. And going forward, I see somebody in here that I think, it's been a friend of Politics Done Right for a while. Let me see if I can get him in for a while. Hey, look at Mark Thompson. Try to get him his attention for me. Mark Thompson, the guy in the red thing. Yeah, get him for me. Yeah, absolutely. I see Mark out here, and I'm going to see if I get a chance to talk to him. Mark, let's see if we get a chance to talk to him. Oh, you got to leave? Oh, okay, no problem. I'll be done by then. He said 2 minutes. I don't know if that's going to be really 2 minutes or not. But yeah, anyhow, he has to get a cable from me anyway. You got to get a cable to set your stuff up there from me anyway. Is he setting up now? I got to give you the cable for that. Ethernet. Or are you doing Wi-Fi? Oh, you don't do live? The Wi-Fi... Okay, good luck. That's why you notice I'm wired for doing stuff live. I'm live with my audience right now. That's why I'm doing it live this way. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk. I got it. I got you. Take it easy. Anyway, folks, coming back to you. Let's see. Michael Radden says, Egberto, as it comes to Clinton's loss in 2016, I blame three aspects. First, one, I blame the mainstream network media for giving Trump $5 billion of free airtime. Cha-ching, you're absolutely right about that. Allowing him to coast in the White House, I agree with that. Second, I blame Hillary for herself for not running as much an unfavorable candidate, resulting in a 20-year low voter turnout. Exactly. And specifically, we look at three cities, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Minneapolis and Milwaukee. Where are those states? Those are Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. What states would have brought her over? Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. And those are what the ones that she lost. So absolutely so. We have to look at the mechanics of how these things work. Okay, great. Let's continue here with our peeps. Can I come on the show? Shakula Hairstylist. I'll talk about video games and foods like, hey, Shakula Hairstylist, what did I tell you guys? This show doesn't belong to Egberto Willies. This show belongs to all of you. You are the guys who make this show. You are the guys who support this show. You are the guys who support our newsletters. You are the guys who support our Patreon. You are the guys that support all of that. So, of course, this is your show. You want to be on? You have something to say? It's your platform. Absolutely, Shakula Hairstylist. J. Ray, my brother from 3rd Ward, says, as we go through this debacle down here in Houston, I heard people on the radio mention, like, why do we have the energy capital of the world, but our energy problems get worse with every storm? That's because Republicans don't know how to govern. It's simple. It is simple. They don't know how to govern, and they allow corporations to take advantage of you. Do you know that Mr. Vo, the CEO of our electrical company. What is it called? You know what? Our electrical company in Houston. He is one of the 10 highest paid CEOs. And what's happening in Houston right now? We don't have electricity. I am burning $700 worth of gasoline in the next week. In the next week and a half, $700 of gasoline to keep the house running with a generator. That's gasoline, oil, and everything. I'm sorry, $400. I'm sorry. I got mixed up on the numbers. $400 worth of gasoline. That is a tax on my family because the electrical company can't do their job. And that CEO makes more money than anyone else in Houston. Think about that. Well, there are a few more that makes like him too. Think about that. And we don't have electricity for the last 3 days. And my daughter sent me a link saying it may be up to the 13th of July without electricity. Think about that, folks. And they like to say the private sector is so much more efficient than the public sector. The private sector is supreme. If you ever believe the private sector is there to serve you, I have a few bridges to sell you. The private sector is there to make money. If serving you makes money, it works. But if they are unregulated and they have a service that you must have, then profit comes before making you happy, just like what the people are going through in Houston right now. I mean, so I am trying to dispel the fallacies that we've had decade after decade about what is really successful business practices. There has to be that perfect condition where we control the commons and we have the private sector control things that we don't need, right? It's okay for the private sector to control the things that we don't have to have, but the things that we must have should be in the public domain, should be in the commons, and not only in the commons, but should be there for us to decide on as a democracy. Punto y final. Eso es lo único que tenemos que hacer. Now, let's see. J. Ray also says, our community also needs to understand that they bet that they have with the private sector are actually a result of price gouging at the state level on many goods and products. Exactly. It's thievery. It's theft, but it's a legalized theft. Melissa Bowie, how are you doing, my girl? How are you in Louisiana, or are you still in Texas taking that heat? Or did you get electricity? Did you get electricity before Kingwood? You probably did, didn't you? All right, let's see what else we got here. J. Ray says, oh my God, there was some voice typos in that last statement. I was voicing, transcribing. Hey, man, that's what we do. Centerpoint Energy. Thank you, brother. Centerpoint. CEO is banking. I mean, he's making a killing. I think last year he made like $30 million. Bruce Pollard says, can I sell you some sun? Bruce, are you complaining about me not having enough lighting on my rather dark hue? Come on, man. I would like to get some light, but you know what? I kind of, what can I say? Anyhow.
I would love if Biden would come back and look at reality and say, you know what? Honestly, I'm old. I probably won't be able to be fully functional, and I want to pass the torch. Now, you told me, hey, passing the torch ain't that easy. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
So, Egberto, part of my concern, and it goes back to a passion, something I did, I think back in junior high of all things, is I'm an outlining, organizing kind of person. And there's Robert's Rules of Order. It's, this obscure thing. I think they still print the books.
Yeah, we do it in our board meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
Almost all organizations adopt Robert's Rules of Order in whole to manage their meetings and doing business. And as a side note, one of the things we've seen with some of our less ethical folks is when they try to not follow
The rules.
Robert's Rules of Order, to shut down protest or to, keep people from speaking. So I have strong feelings about this little obscure book is actually one of the tools we use to support democracy and, let all the voices be heard. It's the structure by which we can conduct business in this open fashion.
Mm-hmm. Let me interrupt you one quick second.
Sure.
Because, we use Robert Rules of Order extensively in our board meetings. If people decide they want to follow it, it works well.
Yes.
If they don't follow it, you get chaos.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to kind of point that out and then ask you to equate Robert's Rules of Order with respect to what would happen if a Biden somehow was sort of forced out or encouraged
Well,
out.
here's the thing, and I'll get to the Democratic National Committee and the convention is fundamentally a business meeting run by Robert's Rules of Order. A lot of this we don't see on the TV with all the glitzy and the speakers, but they start off by gaveling the meeting into session. That's the first official thing. They read in some closed meeting or something where they approve the minutes from the previous one and all of these kind of normal meeting things. The agenda item is to nominate their candidate for president. Robert's Rules of Order has things about how you handle nominations and the people who vote for it and all this sort of thing. And right off the bat, this entire process comes down to, and we saw this in the congressional impeachment things. There's a single parliamentarian who gets to make very weighty decisions because they are the ones who decide on these procedural things. So that's one thing to be mindful of. You're reducing it to this one person making incredibly powerful decisions.
Who is this one person?
I don't even know who it is,
Okay.
but every organization has
Right.
one. Sometimes it's kind of just, not taken all that seriously. Someone will just fill that seat. For Biden to not be the nominee, they have to gavel the meeting into thing. There is a small possibility that he can simply, as one of the first things, say, "I'm withdrawing as a candidate, as
As a nominee of the party.
Well, he's not the nominee yet.
Okay,
He
that's
is
the presumptive nominee.
the presumptive, or
Right, right.
I'm withdrawing from consideration to be the nominee. And this releases his delegates. It's more likely that they will have to actually go through, even if it's by just a
Acclamation.
voice or acclamation, and nominate him and then have him decline the nomination. So this is all this procedural stuff that gets very complicated. Then his delegates are released. And once they're released, they're released. He has no say over how they vote then.
Are those delegates at that point independent?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Then you open nominations up from the floor.
And then that's where it can get crazy.
Anybody, and I know I'm from California. I love Kamala Harris. I want to see Kamala Harris as president someday. But there is no way to simply substitute her as the nominee. You have to have the nominations come from the floor, and people can nominate whoever they want.
But I mean, let me ask you another. Oh, go ahead.
And then at some point, there's a motion to close the nominations. And so you have this list of people that have been nominated. And then you get into, are they all going to speak? Are they going to campaign? Are we going to take a first round vote? And it is incredibly disappointing to me. But there is sexism and racism in the Democratic Party. And when you see a vote with Kamala Harris, you will see it. It will manifest itself.
First of all, I want to thank you as a white woman coming on this show and just spitting it out the way it really is. Okay, because I think it is so important for, and believe it or not, I think you saying that will wake up a whole lot of Democrats And I'm talking about white Democrats that probably have those feelings and say, oh my God, this isn't who we are supposed to be.
The way I put it once is that something about racism and sexism in our own backyard,
Right.
and how we need to talk about it,
Right.
and that it happens.
Right, right.
California, we had a state chair of our Democratic Party that turned out was very racist, had made some very derogatory racial comments,
Right.
and turned out was very sexist as well, and hid behind the protection as a gay man to, say that you couldn't say that about him, and turned into 2 lawsuits and an accusation of having raped someone.
Oh, really? I didn't even follow. I didn't
Yes.
follow that story.
Yes.
That is quite interesting.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, but that is important. And let me tell you, when Obama ran, right? By the way, I started out as a Hillary Clinton supporter. Then her husband kind of pissed me off after South Carolina. When she lost South Carolina to Jesse Jackson. I don't remember if you remember those days.
Yes,
okay?
I do.
No, not to Jesse Jackson. Lost it to Obama. And then Clinton came and said, even Jesse Jackson. And what he did was an implicitly racist comment.
Yes.
And I said, well, you know what? I am going to.
The expression, put your foot in your mouth,
Right.
he did.
Right. And that's when I
huge.
started to move towards Obama. I hadn't moved to Obama strongly yet. But here's the kicker. When I saw in Pennsylvania, the canvassers were going around asking people who they were going to vote for. And there's this white woman, and her husband was somewhere in the background. And he asked, the canvasser asked, who are you voting for? And his wife turned around to the husband and say, honey, who are we voting for? Don't ask me why. It's not me who created this, okay? I'm just telling you the story.
Nope, I'm familiar with that happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And honey, who we're voting for? And the response from the white guy was, we're voting for the N. We're voting for the N word. That's when I knew Obama could win.
Yes.
Okay, because at that point, it superseded his personal racism, but he was looking at his own benefit.
But I would also push back and say that in some respects, and we saw this then play out later
with Hillary again, is I can overcome my racism, but I can't overcome my sexism. And which matters more to me. Right.
And when you're given the choice between a white man versus a woman,
and it's a black woman at that.
Well,
right.
I'm talking about Hillary Clinton as
Hillary,
a white.
yeah,
that's,
right.
Sexism was alive and well.
Yeah. Well, I said it. When I was a Berniac, and when the party resolved, I immediately went strong Hillary, and I wrote articles on daily, on Daily Kos and everything with strong support, etc. Right? Because that's what we do. We support our primary candidates, but then we know that if you compare Party 1 with Party 2, Party 1 is a hell of a lot better than Party 2. So we went ahead and did that. My thing is, and I wrote about it a lot. It's amazing that a black man can get elected in the United States, and still a white woman is still. And I wrote that. Let me tell you this, because y'all gave me hell. I don't mean you. I'm talking Daily Kos.
I know.
I wrote the article at Daily Kos saying the following. Sexism. Sexism is worse than racism when a black man can get elected and a white woman can't. I got sliced to pieces on Daily Kos. Our group killed me. And you know who in that group? White women and black women tore me up. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Look, the data is there.
One of the hardest, I did training of women running for office through a number of different women's organizations, and I was going through a train the trainer experience, and then the next day actually got to put into practice some of the stuff. I was working with the women on the module, if you will, of how to dress, how for women to dress, and both for, pictures and campaign pieces and all this kind of stuff. And one of the women very heatedly kind of stood up in the middle and said, in some very colorful language of exactly what she thought of being told how to dress and all this kind of thing. One of the hardest things I've ever had to look a woman in the eye and tell her was, because she made reference, I don't care what men think about how I dress. And I said, it's not the men.
It's the women.
It's the women.
Wow.
Almost everything to do with how women need to dress as a political candidate. And there have been millions spent on polling and research groups and focus groups and across the board. And time again, it is shown it is women who are judgmental about how women are dressed.
It's amazing. We also need to talk about things like implicit bias, right? Because my brother here, Lee Grant, he's one of the supporters of Politics Done Right, MAGA, as well as, Lee, I don't know if I should call you MAGA or just call you ultra conservative. I'm not sure which one it is. You can tell me in the chat. But his response was, he knows that I'm coming here. And again, like I said, he's a great supporter. He says, racial and gender politics big at Netroots. And my answer is, I want them to be big at Netroots because the genders and race and sexuality are treated differently in this country. How can you want to be gender neutral want to be identity neutral when the country looks at you, and even age, right? Look at what we're doing with Biden right now, right? But of course, there's some science behind that. But again,
I think that the challenge is, there is we conflate two choices or two things we identify. It is very hard for people, as soon as they identify difference, to not immediately go to which one's better. We assume that you have to. If you say two things are different, we have this hierarchical mindset that we immediately want to make a judgment and put it in its place. And we have a huge difficulty with saying, hey, they're just different.
Exactly.
And as long as we do that second step, then when you identify the differences.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will